Firing. He's going for Landry down by the end zone. A tumbling catch for a touchdown. He's to the 30, 20, 10, 5, touchdown.
Welcome back, Survivors. Episode 21, Season 4. This is Surviving the Season, live from the Baywater Studios in Tampa, Florida. I am Adam, and Greg is here.
Yeah!
The final 53 is in. It is done. It is over. We can talk about it, finally.
Yeah, I was at the Milan Melon Festival with the fam, right? This whole thing was going down. You texted me, and your text was, the list is up. That is the last thing I saw. Phone dies. I have like 2 hours I had to suffer through not knowing until I get home. And then I get home, and now that I'm looking at it, this is what a Super Bowl roster looks like.
I would just want to question people at the Melon Festival. There wasn't like a group of dudes just huddled around their phones talking about the Browns?
Unfortunately, no. Everybody has to act like they are very interested in elephant ears and melon ice cream, and we're having a great time. And I'm like, okay, we got to hurry this up. I gotta record important stuff tonight.
Yeah, important stuff. So we're just breaking down position by position, eh?
Sure.
All right, let's start with the quarterbacks. Baker Mayfield has been announced as the starting quarterback.
Mm-hmm. I believe I had that. I think I had that, Baker,
yeah.
QB1.
We did have that. Nothing but the best takes on the number one Browns podcast in the world. Drew Stanton and Garrett Gilbert are also on the 53-man. To be determined who comes in to back up Mayfield. Knock on wood, we're never going to know.
Yeah, David Blau. How about David Blau getting traded for anything? Now, it's basically the Lions are saying, hey, you're going to cut this guy. We don't want to go through the waivers process. But had you said anybody would do anything to try, I wasn't even expecting anybody to pick him up off of waivers. Let's be honest. Like, it's David Blau. Are we really in that position in the NFL today where David Blau is worth swapping seventh to make sure that you get him on the roster? Like, Jesus Christ, we have got to get this guy on the roster somehow.
Yeah, not only was it it's just a pick swap, it's not even until 2021. So it's not even next year.
2021 trades. You gotta love it. Fantastic. Yeah, you have to think that they were probably calling and asking about Garrett Gilbert, right? And then Dorsey was just like, how about David Blau?
Yeah.
And they're like, fuck it, they're all better than our shitty quarterbacks. Send them over here.
Makes sense. No surprises there. I'm maybe a little surprised if they're going to keep a third quarterback, but if Gilbert is the quote unquote backup, then this makes sense. Yes. And we probably have room on the 53 right now because we have a boatload of people suspended. So nothing.
Yeah, I only see 2 quarterbacks I'm looking at the roster. I only see 2, and then an extra quarterback coach here. So yeah, I don't know what you're looking at.
It's QBC now. All right, enough with the quarterbacks. We know who the quarterback is. Let's move on to the running backs.
No surprises here with the running backs.
Yeah, Nick Chubb, Dontrell Hilliard, D'Ernest Johnson. Kareem Hunt is suspended for 8 games. We will see him in Week 10. So he does not count as a roster spot, if anybody's wondering. You can carry the other 2. Again, no surprises.
Yep, no surprise there at all. Who knows? Maybe D'Ernest Johnson plays really well, becomes some kind of trade bait once Kareem comes back. Or maybe Kareem is the trade bait. Who knows? We'll see. I mean, you have 10 weeks here to find out what you have with these unknown guys here, Dontrell Hilliard and D'Ernest Johnson.
Yeah, Hilliard played a lot in Week 4 of the preseason, right? It almost looks like Johnson sort of has that second spot, but I don't know.
I don't think so. I think they knew that Hilliard had missed a couple of games there, and they wanted to be able to get enough, some more work because it really doesn't have a lot of experience. I assume Nick Chubb's gonna get a ton of carries. early on. I mean, that's easy enough to assume. And then if you're going to have a third, if they're going to pull Nick Chubb off the field on third downs, I would think it would be Dontrell Hilliard. Okay. The problem is none of these guys look capable of blocking. So, it's sort of weird to me that we don't have a fullback here at all. Yeah. I don't know if there's. I think for one, let's just say this is probably not the complete final 53, right? There could be some more moves coming.
For sure.
But if you're talking about having any kind of blocking coming from these three, it just has not existed to this point. Now, Nick Chubb, one of the hardest workers in the league, definitely working at it. Hopefully, he's getting a little bit better in that aspect of his game. We'll see. But there's a lot to be shown when it comes from these three of who's going to be the guy that if there's a blitz coming, he's going to be able to pick it up.
I would probably mostly rely on Chubb for that, but again, you don't want him. You don't need him taking, all the snaps either.
Sure.
If you're going to give him 20 carries, he's also going to be taking his hit.
Chubb could get 30 touches a game. I mean, with this roster, and by week 10, he might need a break, and then they'll really welcome back Kareem Hunt at that point.
I also expect this team to throw early and often. Like, it's not going to be your first down run, second down run, third down pass offense here.
Yeah, as long as we can protect the quarterback, you're right.
Okay.
We'll see. We'll get there. That's a little foreshadowing.
Yeah. So, speaking of fullback, Joe Carriage, the fullback that we were thinking might have a shot at the roster, he was waived injured. And the other fullback that had taken some reps as we move into the tight ends was Seth DeValve, and he has been handed his papers and sent on his way. The final three will be David Njoku, Demetrius Harris, and Pharaoh Brown made the roster for now. Rico Gathers is suspended 1 week, so that will have to be dealt with next week. Seth DeValve, a little bit of a surprise?
Oh, absolutely, because you're talking about keeping Pharaoh Brown, who's done nothing to earn a roster spot. He played on special teams. He gets penalties on special teams. And then Rico, who, well, let's see, what do you have? 2 career catches? Is that what we talked about before?
Yeah. And
he's suspended. So he's got a 1-game suspension. He'll be back. Maybe that at that point, once he gets back, Pharaoh Brown's off the roster. Maybe the John Dorsey felt like DeValve actually has a chance of getting on another squad and contributing. So maybe giving him benefit of a doubt or helping out a veteran player, I guess, to go be able to get on a roster instead of getting 1 week and then going, well, we're gonna bring back Rico and now you're out then,
right,
Mr. DeValve. So. Might be doing him a bit of a favor, but it doesn't make sense why Pharaoh Brown doesn't belong on an NFL roster.
I wouldn't be surprised if Gathers gets cut next week. You know what I mean? Just cut after his suspension.
I wouldn't be surprised if neither of those tight ends are on this team and we end up with somebody else from another.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if they're done here. David Njoku, Demetrius Harris, we knew those two were good to go. They really need to add a tight end 3. It's not the most important thing here, but I feel like we could do better right now than where we're at.
Yeah, I also expect them to make some moves here. Nobody look at your phone. That's Greg's phone. Don't look at your phone.
I apologize.
Don't do it. Yeah, I do expect the Browns to be active here with the tight end market after we see kind of who's cut, who's available around the league. Steven Carlson was given his papers as well as DeValve. Let's move on.
Who is Steven Carlson? I never heard of him.
Yeah. The wide receiver room became a little bit more interesting today. The Browns acquired Taywan Taylor from the Titans, our week 1 opponent, no less, for an undisclosed 2020 draft pick. Go ahead and assume it's high. This is probably a player that the Titans want to move on from. High as in late.
You mean
late?
Late.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to have to disagree with you there if you thought that was like high as in like a top 3 round pick or something.
I'm assuming the Browns don't have any more 7s because it seems like we've thrown our 7s around, so this could be a 6 maybe.
I think we got that 7 that 7 we swapped in 2021.
That could be it. Yeah, for sure.
Taywan Taylor is fast. Well, I think he ran a 4.540, but I mean, he's an easy mover. In college, Western Kentucky, if you recall, this is a guy we watched a lot of tape of. He got a lot of run. I mean, this is a guy that was highly drafted. What, 3rd round, right?
Yeah.
And it just really hasn't worked out. And going back and watching Taywan Taylor this year, which I got a chance to do, it seems like it's his hands that are failing him the most. He's in position to make catches, and he's just not making the tough catches. And you're a wide receiver. Comes down to securing the ball. Is this year? He's in year 3, right? This is usually the year where you tend to see these wide receivers turn the corner, really start to make a move, showing that they're worth their draft value. And Tennessee says, this just hasn't been happening the way we thought. It hasn't been. He's not progressing. They feel fine to move on with it. For the Browns, I like this move. You're talking about, we had Miller here, or Hyman was the other guy. This gives us another guy that can play in the slot, can play on the outside. He can get open. He needs to be more sure-handed, but from a physical aspect, he brings speed to this group where we're sort of lacking when you have Jarvis and Higgins. You definitely don't need another slot guy, and that's really what Braxton was. And Braxton gives you some playmaking ability, but you're talking about a slot guy only, and they needed an outside receiver. So to add Taywan Taylor, I thought is a pretty good move here. We're presuming that they gave up very little for that.
Yeah.
So that's a nice move. The other thing that's interesting here is we only have 5 wide receivers on the roster right now.
Yep, 5 wide receivers. It's going to be Odell Beckham Jr., Jarvis Landry, Rashard Higgins, Damian Ratley made the team, and then Taywan Taylor. That's your 5. Antonio Callaway is suspended for 4 games. Doesn't count against that roster spot. That means we moved on from Willie's. Jalen Strong was cut a little bit earlier. Sheehy Giuseppe was cut. Hyman, as you mentioned, Dorian Baker was cut. And DJ Montgomery hit the IR, unfortunately, because I think that might have been a guy they would have kind of kept around. Are you surprised by Willie's?
I am surprised by Willie's, but maybe there's a chance he can find the practice squad. I think that's possible, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So you could get Willie's on the practice squad if nobody picks him up. But again, you're talking about 4 games here where you would keep somebody on the roster and they know that they're done after 4 games. And maybe, again, Dorsey's saying, all right, we're going to have this roster spot open eventually. They know they have an issue at right guard. Let's take the assets, throw them at the offensive line, and we'll get there in a second. We're going to go there probably next. The offensive line, but they said, let's go ahead and spend the extra asset to try to shore up this right guard because we have a real problem there. This is a serious problem with the team, and we can worry. It's less of a worry about wide receiver 6 than it is shoring up this right guard. So let's just leave that spot open and let Willie's go. Hopefully we can get him back on the practice squad, and if we need him later in the season, then it works out. And I think that's sort of what the thinking was by the front office here.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and Ratley was a draft pick, so that might give him a little bit of that leg up.
Well, Ratley has more. He's just a better receiver. Everything that he does when he's playing receiver, he's just more natural receiver. I mean, he's got the physical attributes. Willie's is not real fast. He's got, he's long. There's things he does nicely. He just doesn't catch the ball very well. And Damian Ratley really is the upside guy here. So if you're going to leave a guy on your team, you want to go with the guy that's going to give you the most upside. Damian Ratley's that guy.
Yeah, you mentioned Braxton Miller. He was also cut after sort of that week and a half to bring him in and see what he can do. Do you think Jalen Strong getting cut was a surprise or?
Sure.
Yeah.
I had him pegged. Well, I'm not upset that he was cut because I think there's plenty of Jalen Strongs out there. You can go find a Jalen Strong, after all these cuts are made, there's another Jalen Strong out there.
Agreed.
What does he give you that what other wide receivers don't get you? What is his upside? There's not a lot of upside to him. You know what he is. Bringing in Braxton Miller was like, okay, let's see what we got. This is a guy they want playmakers. That's what they're looking for. You don't need another possession receiver. That's what Strong was. Now, he played good enough to make this team, but when you see the makeup of the roster, you just go, okay, do we really need another guy like this, or do we need somebody that can get open, be an X, which we have talked about a number of times, be a guy that can get downfield, be a guy that gets separation? You don't get that with Jalen Strong.
And I agree. I think I said it in the last podcast. Sometimes the dude behind the starter isn't the next best guy on your roster.
Yeah, you're showcasing. You don't want to show, especially in the preseason. Do you really want to show the guys that you're going to try to get to your practice squad? Do you really want to show them off?
Right.
Because you want to stash these guys away. You're like, no way this guy's making my team, but I really like to get him to the practice squad. I guess it's the other thing we could talk about too that we haven't is any of these guys that are going to make it to the practice squad. We can probably hit that at the end.
Yeah. I mean, well, we're not too far in, so the only cuts that could make it, if you need a running back to the practice squad, Trayon Gray was cut, and AJ Ouellette.
Yeah, Gray would be the guy with the more upside there, but from a physical aspect, I just don't think he's a good running back. Ouellette, actually, he's older. I don't know what his age was, but I remember looking at it and going, "Oh, geez, this guy's older than Kareem Hunt." So he's like, okay. So I knew he's a little bit older. I don't know, what's his upside then? Really, not much. I don't think you even need to mess with running backs here. They may. I'm not sure really. What, you get 10 practice squad guys? Is that how it goes?
10.
So I could see for one the wide receivers being like an Ish Hyman, a guy who has what looks like good physical attributes, but just really needs to focus on getting better hands and hit the jugs machine, man. Like 300 balls a day.
Right, and Willie's, like you said, is probably another option there if they can get them.
So you might get 2 guys there at wide receiver, but yeah, Willie's would be the one for sure.
Sort of the problem with the waiver pickup too is that if these guys are all on waivers tomorrow until noon, it's like an early waiver pickup, and then the team has till like 4:00 to do their practice squads. But if you do pick up a guy off of waivers, he has to be on your active roster for like a certain amount of weeks. So it's not super easy to just claim a guy. You have to cut someone from that barely made the 53, and now the guy has to be on your 53-man roster. Like you can't just pick up a guy and go, we'll stash him on our practice squad. No, he's going to count against your 53. So a lot of these dudes that could make a team on the back end might not get claimed because that team also has to make a corresponding move.
Good point.
Yeah, okay. A lot of times these guys will make it through to the practice squads. We can probably keep moving from here, or?
Yep, move on.
Okay. You talked about the offensive line. We are keeping sort of a lot of offensive linemen. I think this has to do with some of the recent acquisitions. Let's start with the guard out of Buffalo, Wyatt Teller.
Can I actually just cut you off? What this has to do with is that you drafted a guy at 33 that can't play. That's what this has to do with. And you got to save face and try to keep him on your roster. That's what happened here.
Yeah, and also I think they're not super stoked with their starting guards, so they're bringing in more options.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. So guard.
I think they're okay with Batonio. I think they're okay with him.
Yeah. Wyatt Teller, he was brought in for like a 5th and a 6th round pick. That's fairly good compensation.
Was it? I thought it was a 5th and they swapped 6th or something.
Oh, okay. That might have been, that might be official. I'm not 100% sure, but they did throw at least a 5th at the deal.
Okay.
And then today they acquired Justin McCray from the Packers, another guy that they're familiar with.
Yeah, and he knew if I don't make this Packers team, I always have a home in Cleveland.
Right. So there's 2 dudes already. Let's go through the guys that did make it. We'll start with the tackles. Greg Robinson on the left side, Chris Hubbard on the right side. They're going to start. They kept one backup, Kendall Lamb. I was a little sad to see Seaton go.
Seaton gave a good effort, and Seaton, I think Kendall Lamb was on the ropes. Seton was just 1 or 2 punches away. The bell rang. And that's all the time. The final round, they said, "Hey, we brought in Kendall Lamb for a reason. He's got a little bit more experience. Let's stick with him." But Brad Seton was giving it all. He was giving him hell. Just didn't have enough time, I guess, to finish him off.
Yeah, he might be a practice squad guy too, if they really want to.
I would enjoy that. Yes.
Yeah, Brian Nofo out of Idaho State was cut.
That sounded perfect.
Yeah, I don't know how to say his name.
That's how they pronounce. That's actually exactly how they pronounce it. Fine, Angelo. Hey, I'm Greg. Fine, Angelo.
And if you want to say, because they've brought in all these extra guards, maybe they like Forbes as a backup tackle as well, because they kept Forbes.
No, they don't. I'll tell you they don't. For 100%, they do not. The only reason of course, they're going to keep Forbes. He's shown that he absolutely can. He can play at this level. He just needs more seasoning, right?
Yeah.
Remember, he got injured,
and he's 22.
So it wasn't a major injury. Yes, it wasn't a major injury, but he might miss. He could miss a couple weeks here or something. But they definitely wanted to keep him on the squad. They also don't want to have to play the guy.
Okay, that's fair.
So you can't let him go because you can't cut him and hope he gets to your practice squad because somebody's going to grab him up because he's shown that this is exactly the kind of things, from footwork and I mean he's been good. He's just not ready yet. You remember he played at a small college. But he has all the attributes that you look for in a young guy that hopefully will project into being a starter. So you don't want to let him go. In the meantime, we'll bring somebody else because we have Cush as a starter now. That might not be for long.
Right.
Wyatt Teller is going to be right there on his heels, and you bring in Justin McCray, who has more right guard experience than Wyatt Teller. Wyatt Teller played mostly left guard in Buffalo when he was there. Well, we know Batonio is not going to be giving up that spot, so it might take a little bit of time for Teller to learn the right guard if that's where he's going to go ultimately. And then you also bring in another guy that they're familiar with in McCray in case you get into a pinch. You're probably not going to want to go to Drew Forbes right away.
Okay, yeah. Drew Forbes is from Southeast Missouri State. You called it small school. Let's move inside. J.C. Treader, obviously the starting center. Austin Corbett did make the 53 for now as a backup center, quote unquote. Let's go through the other cuts.
And let's be honest, I have no problem with Austin Corbett making this team. I like I said the last time he was playing, I don't think he's getting just absolutely annihilated blowing off the ball. I think he needs to get a lot stronger. I think he needs to hit the weight room. And it sucks that you take a guy at 33 that's not NFL ready, but we did. It doesn't mean you give up on him.
Sure, yeah. Travis Vorncall, he got a lot of late play.
Boy, cow, we didn't even talk about the game, but how about the one possession where Vorncall just went off. He went, holy cow, dude. So then he first started, it was a screen pass to Braxton Miller, and he got the block in the back. Okay, so that set him back. It was like 2nd and 20 at this point. Then the ball gets tipped up in the air, and he catches it. He catches the ball. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he thought it was a fumble. How he would think that, I don't know. But he catches the ball and takes like a 6-yard loss. And then on the last down, he gets another hold. It was the worst series I've ever seen for a poor attack. You know damn well the only fan he had at that moment was his mother sitting at home. Like, you can do it, baby. I knew you could do it. You look so good. He's like, Mom, I just got cut before I even reached the sideline.
Yeah, right. Just sort of to round out the other cuts, Brian Witzman was let go.
Free agent acquisition, Brian Witzman.
Yep.
Oh, I forgot you even showed up. I don't remember seeing you once. That's probably a good thing when you don't see an offensive lineman.
Yeah, Willie Wright, he did not make the team. And Kyle Kalis, he's waived injured with a concussion. He will have to pass through that protocol.
So I didn't really study these guys, but I would grab one of the, if Kalis is a young guy, he showed a little bit of promise, stuff that they seem to like with him. That could be a guy you stash away. We talked about Seaton. What do you think there? Anybody?
Yeah, that was sort of my thoughts, was Brad Seaton and maybe Kalis to the...
Seaton will be 26 this year. I'm sorry to cut you off there, but Seaton will be 26. I don't know if that's a little bit old.
Yeah. He did 4 years at Villanova, plus probably a redshirt year. So, yeah, he's older.
Made that sound like serving time at Villanova.
Yeah.
He served his time at Villanova. That shithole.
He was a 2017 7th-round pick for Tennessee, and he's really never stuck. So maybe he can keep a job on a practice squad.
Yeah.
I almost wouldn't be surprised to see Corbett at some point try to get moved to the practice squad after this like sort of initial where everybody fixes up their 53 and then the Browns need a roster spot, and then maybe they can waive Corbett and try to get into the practice squad. It's going to be dangerous either way.
No, you can't do that. You cannot do that with a second-round pick. It just doesn't work that way. He'll get picked up.
I would rather see that if the team's like, fuck it, we missed, move on. Like, there's no reason to have him on the 53 just standing back there if you don't think he's useful.
Well, that's two different things. Yeah, if you don't think he's useful, cut his ass.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to stash him away. It's not going to work like that.
No, I probably agree with you, but sometimes once you get through like the first, I mean, even if you wanted just for the, when Gathers comes back and you need the roster spot, I don't know if you'll get away with it in week 1, but.
Well, he's second-year player, drafted the first pick in the second round. Right. I'm not even a little surprised he made the team. You're just really, at this point, you're just stashing the guy. There's no way they're not going to just stash him. I will be shocked if they end up cutting him. Who the fuck is Justin McCray? I mean, you bring up Justin. Right. You're getting rid of whoever the hell Justin McCray is before you're getting rid of Austin Corbett.
No, good point. At this point, we have so many guards that they're going to figure out who they want to keep, and they have a little bit of roster move room here with those guys.
You have 10 offensive. You have 10 linemen right now on the roster because you have two guys, Corbett and Forbes, that you really do not want to get into the lineup yet because you don't think they're ready. But that doesn't mean that you don't have faith that they will get there.
Agreed. Yeah.
We might not have that same faith. Drew Forbes, I think, is very good. We might not have the same faith for Austin Corbett that John Dorsey does. But remember, I'm just saying this is what John Dorsey has to be thinking.
Yeah, well, I kind of like Corbett anyway. I mean, he's got good. He's got
stuff.
Yeah, he's got the good. He's got the good physical numbers. So maybe he just needs a little more time to figure it out. So I'm not saying like just ship the guy off. There could be a surprise there.
No, Pro Football Focus has Justin McCray listed as a center, but he has no center snap. So I don't know if maybe that's where they're projecting him to or what, but
I don't know.
It is interesting.
I'd give Treader a bag of money at this point.
Yeah, how much you want, buddy?
All right, cool. Let's move to the other side of the ball.
Yes, sir.
All right, let's start with the interior defensive line. Carl Davis waived Brandon Bryant and Brian Price. That leaves us with Larry Ogunjobi, Trevin Coley, Devereaux Lawrence, and Daniel Ekwale, and Sheldon Richardson, of course.
Well, he made it?
Yeah.
That guy, that bum? No, I'm just joking. No real surprises there, I felt. Ekwale is definitely a bubble guy. I mean, Lawrence, we talked about it the 3 days I was at practice. He tore it up every single day that I was there, and every single game. I mean, is there a bad preseason game that he had?
I don't think so.
I think not. Yeah, he looked pretty goddamn good. So those were a given. And then it really came down to Chris Smith, Chad Thomas, or Zettel. No real surprise there. Not that it's the right choice. I mean, how much the argument that Chris Smith is $3 million better than Zettel. I don't know if that's really the case, but you're paying the guy here. He is in my opinion, he's the better player. So you're in win now mode. So I guess you spend the extra money. And Chad Thomas being a 3rd round pick, just earns that roster spot by default.
Yeah, we talked about that. So moving to the edge, Zettel was cut. Wyatt Ray, Jarrell Owens was cut. So that leaves us with Garrett, Chris Smith, Olivier Vernon, Chad Thomas, and of course, Jannard Avery. We kind of thought that just with Zettel getting so much playing time, it seemed, I think you called it, that they were showcasing him a little bit. Maybe that they could get something for him.
Yeah, they're
in the end, he's just moved on.
They were looking for anybody to offer up a 2021 seventh. Nobody took the bait.
Yeah, or just maybe saying like, well, if he can play, we can probably move on from Chris Smith. But he, he was doing okay, but he didn't do any, it wasn't like he was recording a bunch of sacks. And then, like you said, they weren't going to move on from Thomas. Zettel's probably a better choice there than Thomas. Maybe Thomas can move inside. I don't know.
They're a little bit different than. Chad Thomas really is almost he's almost that. He's almost a tweener where he's an edge, but is he really quick enough to be a full-time edge? He's not really big enough to be a full-time 3-tech. If he's probably perfect for like a 3-4 defense, and you play him at the 5. But he's a power guy. I think Chad Thomas has some usefulness. I just don't think drafting him in the 3rd round, I think that's way too high for what Chad Thomas can give you. He's never going to be a high sack guy. Now he gets a sack in the 4th preseason game. He didn't earn that sack. he got annihilated on the block. He's laying on the ground. He gets up and then falls into a sack basically. I think it was Redwine who actually forced the quarterback out of the pocket there, or to step up in the pocket. You just have to go with Chris Smith here and Chad Thomas based upon if I'm John Dorsey, based upon that I paid Chris Smith and I drafted Chad Thomas.
Yeah.
and you picked up Zettel for like nothing. So not that it's the correct move or whatever. It's just this is the way it is by default, really. Yeah, I didn't see really any other way that Zettel was going to make this team.
Yeah, it was kind of how we put it down in our pre-53 show a couple shows back. I thought Carl Davis just didn't do enough as a former 3rd round pick.
Yeah, you're right.
He's just sort of like there. Like he's just sort of taking up space.
Body. That's what he is. He's just a body.
So,
and then remember, Jannard Avery is really the guy that you're going to use in these pass rush situations.
Oh yeah,
Chad Thomas. They're like, hey, we need a goal line guy. Let's get Chad Thomas's big ass out there.
Yeah, we were pretty close on that one. Still one of the strengths of the team. Like this is still a good defensive line. I think they're going to have a solid year. So,
they stay healthy. Yeah. Good luck to the opposing quarterbacks.
Moving on to the linebackers, a little bit of a surprise for me was Ray Armstrong being cut, kind of just because of a special teams guy.
Yep. Do we know what Sione Takitaki is giving us in special teams? Because we really haven't seen him. We'd have to go all the way back to the week 1 to see if he is contributing there. Maybe they think we'll get with Takitaki what Ray was giving us.
Yeah, that's fair too. Yeah, and Mac Wilson will play special teams too.
Sure, and Adarius Taylor, we already know, is really the special team. The reason why they even brought him in here, I think, is that Adarius Taylor is a solid special teams guy,
right?
Because he's really never contributed that much in your base defense, and he was in there when they were in there. If you recall, the strong side linebacker when they were in the base defense, it was Adarius Taylor who got the first whack at it.
Yeah. So let me round out the other cuts. Anthony Stubbs was cut. Dedrick Young, he was an undrafted free agent. Stubbs was an undrafted free agent. Willie Harvey was also cut as an undrafted free agent. So that leaves us with Schobert, Takitaki, Adarius Taylor, Mac Wilson, Christian Kirksey. Five.
Yeah, and Jannard Avery if you want to.
Yeah. So five linebackers or 6 linebackers, however you want to classify Avery, but Avery's an edge. At this point.
Harvey would probably be the guy that you would be looking to get onto your practice squad.
Yeah, agree. Oh, definitely agree with you. Yeah. I don't remember seeing Young much or Stubbs, but I remember seeing Harvey. So,
yeah, Harvey did a really good job against the run.
Yeah, there's that. And we really expect the Browns to play 2 linebackers most of the time on the field. So,
all the time, just about. Yeah.
Let's move to the secondary. The secondary is busy.
There's a lot going on here.
5 corners, 6 safeties, depending on how you want to.
Yeah, it's really hard to label these guys.
But let's start with corners. Let's start with the starting corners. Probably Denzel Ward, Terrence Mitchell on the outside, TJ Carey, Grady Williams, and our boy, special teams star Tavier Thomas made the team.
That's right. He was hurt. It didn't even matter, dude. They know gunner talent when they see it.
Yeah. So he made the team. That's awesome.
When Tavier Thomas makes the Pro Bowl as a gunner, you guys remember Surviving the Season had that one first. I think Eric Murray is going to get more snaps this year as your nickel corner than he most likely will as a safety. So I'm going to count him as a corner.
Okay.
Now, TJ Carey, who played a lot in Game 4, was abused on the outside, as you see, because I've always said TJ Carey should not be playing anywhere other than the nickel corner. He was out there probably just to get some reps since he had missed a game or two. He's going to be your starter in that nickel role, but Eric Murray is going to push him, I think, for a little bit of playing time. We talked about it. Terrence Mitchell really seems to have the upper hand over Greedy, but Greedy as your backup, first guy, cornerback off the bench, that's a pretty nice spot to be. So overall, you can call this 5 corners or you can call it 6. We have the flexibility because we also have Demarius Randall, if you recall, played corner last year and checked Mike Evans for the one game and did a hell of a job. So we know that if we get into a pinch, we have another guy there. Tavier Thomas, the chances of him even seeing the field on defense as a corner are slim to none. I think he is primarily a special teams guy.
Yeah, perfect. They also cut Robert Jackson, 7th-round draft pick Donnie Lewis Jr. and Lindsey Pipkins were the cornerback cuts. Robert Jackson said that he was staying in Cleveland because he expects to make it to the practice squad.
Yeah, and where they should train him how to play safety because you are clearly not a good corner. Let's teach this guy to play safety. He hits. I think he could play either safety position if he can be a better zone guy because he is not good at man coverage. If you saw him get abused, what do you have? 3 pass interference, 2, 3, whatever it was, it could have been more. He just does not know how to properly. His technique is terrible as a corner, but he gets after it on special teams.
Yeah, if you want to count Philip Gaines in this group, he is.
Oh, that was sort of a surprise there.
Yeah.
Is he still on? So he has a chance to make it?
I believe they put him on the IR. They could come to a deal with him to cut him and then give him some money for being injured with the concussion. Or they could stash him on the IR to come back later if they needed him. I'm not exactly sure what his status is right now, but...
Well, he was contributing on special teams. I thought he might have a chance because of that, and then he's really a nickel corner for the most part. And then the fact that you have Eric Murray there to back up TJ Carey if you're in a pinch and he can play free safety gives him really the edge over Philip Gaines. So tough cut. I mean, he played well. He was okay. I don't know if he's really good enough to make the roster, but it was close for him.
Yeah, it gives the team a little flexibility to sort of stash him on the injury list.
Sure.
Yeah, the teams kind of abused this injury list here at the end of preseason.
Yeah, I almost thought when Drew Forbes went down, I was like, "This is the perfect." Yeah, I thought this is the perfect spot for them to go. Well, we're gonna have to hold them out this season, and they would have loved it.
Yeah,
they were actually upset. They're like, "Oh, it's minor. Oh, shucks."
Yeah,
Dang.
He seemed like one that they might have tried to stash to the IR. Moving on to the safeties. Tiggy Sanko was let go, and JT Hassel was let go. Montreal Meander, who was in for whatever
3 minutes.
said.
He just got here. Yeah. He hasn't even unpacked. Poor guy.
Yeah, after seeing Hassel's sort of like grading out, he just hasn't graded well. He was an undrafted free agent. They gave him a lot of work, and I just think he's just not up to par with the rest of the group. So,
well, he was a linebacker in college, so there is and now you're trying to play safety. You have to. This is the kind of guy you stash. Right, that's the kind of guy you put on your practice squad, and you go, okay, we got to teach you some of these, different techniques and whatnot that you're going to use as a safety that you didn't use as a linebacker. We got to teach you the proper place for your eyes. You're used to being super aggressive. You can't be quite as aggressive. We gotta work on the coverage a little bit. So that's the exact kind of guy you stash away. Yeah,
and probably pretty easy to get him to the practice squad. Tiggy Sanko's been on our practice squad, I think, for 2 years. So
veteran practice squad player.
Yeah, he'll probably be going back. So the starters likely.
It's like what the hell is the Bull movie? Durham Bulls, where the dude Kevin Costner's like the 40-year-old home run hitter in the minor leags.
Oh,
Bull Durham. Jesus Christ.
Bull Durham, yeah.
Yeah, but the Durham Bulls. That's the name of the team. That's Tiggy Sanko is going to be like 35, so on the practice squad. I might get the call up this year, Mom.
Yeah.
Banging Susan Saranda.
Deep cut. Like, I don't know. Does anyone know Bull Durham? How old
if
are
you're
you?
a sports fan, how do you not know? If you've never seen Bull Durham, good God.
I don't even know who the fuck Kevin Costner is.
Yes, you do. He was the GM of the Browns when we made the huge trade in the one draft movie. Come on, dude.
Yeah. Mac Wilson or nobody else.
How dare you? Yeah, Mac Wilson. He fell to the fifth. Who knew?
So let's go through our sort of starting lineup. Demarius Randall at free, Morgan Burnett strong.
/ Jermaine Whitehead.
Yeah.
Jermaine
Whitehead made the team. Eric Murray, Sheldrick Redwine made the team, of course, and Justin Burris on the backside.
So you can pick there's a couple young guys who make it by default, and I'm counting 4 of them. Let's go with the 4 guys. These are 4 guys that make it by default that don't and Drew Forbes is sort of, I don't know if he's not necessarily on this list because I think Drew Forbes deserves a chance to get on the roster, but I'm talking about Austin Corbett, Chad Thomas, and Sheldrick Redwine, who could easily have been cut had you not been drafted. If you were even 2 rounds later, any of you might not be on the squad. Most likely you are not on the squad at this moment.
Agreed. Yeah. It's my guy. You put draft capital in the guy. You sort of want to see it out. When you pick a player, even like think of your fantasy teams, you take a player and then you stick with them for like a couple extra weeks that you're like, fuck, he's not doing anything, but I thought something good was going to happen this year. He was my sleeper. And then eventually, a couple weeks in, you're like, well, I got to move on from the guy. But
sure.
I think it's human nature to want to, you back the dudes that you pick, obviously.
Yeah, and Redwine has the physical attributes, and he actually didn't play nearly as bad in this last game as what he has been playing. So they're hoping for that upside will eventually take off. So I'm not saying you should cut this guy. I'm just saying, if you really want to get down to who deserves a roster spot, he's really not one of them, but he stays on it because of his upside. I want to talk about a little bit. So we got Morgan Burnett, Jermaine Whitehead. This is a serious downgrade from Peppers. Let's be honest.
Agreed.
Okay, so and then the same thing at guard. We're still searching for a guard to replace what's his name?
Zeitler.
Zeitler.
You can't get OBJ without giving up.
Exactly.
2 player, you know what I mean? You got to create a hole to have OBJ.
Exactly my point. You're getting a guy at a more premium position. The wide receiver is a more premium position than that guard, and you got a pass rusher, another more premium position than a strong safety and a guard. It doesn't mean there won't be growing pains. It doesn't mean we're as good as we were last year in those positions. I mean, Jabril Peppers has more upside by far than either of these 2 guys. But it is a easier position to replace than it is to find a edge rusher that can get after the quarterback the way that Olivier Vernon does, and to find a wide receiver anywhere near the ability that OBJ has. The trade is excellent, but don't be surprised when you're going, come on, is Morgan Burnett going to do something? Is Jermaine Whitehead going to make a tackle already? don't have the same expectations of what you really had with Peppers. And I know some people were still even frustrated with Peppers. Like they thought they weren't getting enough out of the guy. I thought he was improving, getting better. Not my favorite draft pick in the world. We know that. But he was more talented player than what you're going to get from either of these guys.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Totally agree.
And Justin Burris seems to be making it based upon special teams and a little bit of upside. This is a third-round pick. He graded really well in that first game, and then what he missed the next couple. And I don't even know, did he play in the last game? He could be the guy that's really on the end of the roster here with the extra safety. And if they end up picking up somebody else, he could easily be gone from this roster. But I think the thought process is we got Tavierre Thomas here. Justin Burris is another guy that contribute on special teams. So that might be the case for him.
Had the secondary broke down pretty well when we first started looking at it.
Yeah, it was pretty damn close.
Yeah, it seemed to sort of come together for us.
I don't think we expected 6 safeties, but if you count Eric Murray as a safety, or even 5. But we talked about, hey, you got to keep somebody else because you don't really want to play red wine.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, if Randall goes down, are you going with Burris? Are you going with red wine? Or are you going with Murray? I mean, what are you doing? You're not going with red wine. I'm telling you that. Maybe not until the middle of the season, until this guy's showing in practice that he can be a full-time contributor out there.
Yeah. All right, let's move back to special teams.
Yeah, buddy. Talk about shocking.
Well, Charlie Hewlett's
Charlie Hewlett, that's the one. That's the one. I can't believe we made it.
And then we're rolling with two rookies. Britton Colquitt has been cut. Greg Joseph has been cut. Austin Seibert is your kicker. Jamie Gillen, the Scottish Hammer, is your punter.
Whew. Top special teams tackler, Jamie Gillen. Hey, so I think this is the perfect time to have rookie special team, rookie kicker, rookie punter is when you're on the brink of going of a Super Bowl team. You're on the brink of having a championship caliber team. That's when you roll the dice. Said no GM ever in the history of football.
Yeah.
This seems a little bit risky, but you know what? Who cares? Fuck it. We're going with it. YOLO ball. Let's do it. If we're punting, we're losing. If we're kicking field goals, we're losing. We're scoring touchdowns and we're getting first downs, bitches. These guys, they're not doing anything except cheering. That's what they should be doing. We don't even want to see them come into the game. But really, let's be honest here. Is Seibert that much worse than what Greg Joseph was?
No, probably not. Yeah.
No, they're equally bad.
Yeah,
Jamie Gillen,
Seibert could be fine. I mean,
yeah,
whatever.
He could be Greg Joseph.
Just make the ones you need to make. Like,
on the other hand, you get some savings here with Jamie Gillen. Jamie Gillen's kicked the ball fine. I mean, have you seen anything from the Scottish Hammer that makes you worried?
No.
Yeah, me either. The one we're really talking about is kicker here. The punting game seemed fine. I guess a little risky that you're having a rookie here, but you do save some money by getting rid of Colquitt.
Yeah, $2.7 million evaporates. So, but Jamie Gillen also has to hold for Seibert. Like, he has to hold on the kicks. Colquitt's been nothing but money there. Gillen's been nothing but money there. I mean, I haven't seen him make any mistakes. So
I think you just jinxed him. He's going to have a Tony Romo moment
he may.
Oh, dude, you totally jinxed it. If it comes down to that, Gillen drops the snap.
Yeah, we don't need to be losing any games out of this shit.
Instead, see, the difference between Romo and the Hammer here is the Hammer's an athlete. So he runs that in for 6, where Tony Romo gets tripped up like a little bitch.
Oh,
the Scottish
Hammer,
and scoring that one.
Yeah, Gillen will pick it up and run it in because he's a rugby pro or whatever.
And then punt the ball up into the rafters just for the hell of it after the touchdown, celebrating.
Yeah, we don't spend a lot of time on special teams here, but yeah,
these guys,
interesting
kickers.
To see how that turned out. I thought for sure it was going to be the vets, and it's not. It seemed to turn around in week 3 of the preseason when Seibert suddenly just made a bunch of kicks and Gillen punted fine and held.
Things really started to turn around when the other two didn't get a chance.
I thought Joseph and Colquitt were kicking week 4. That just wasn't the case, apparently.
Yeah. Oh my God. Daryl Ryder actually had something right. Daryl Wronger.
Yeah.
Tip it.
Yeah.
I saw that.
Don't
all
even
right,
get started with
should
that
I bring it up? I saw that you had commented on a Daryl Ryder.
Well,
Sashi sucks balls comment as usual from Daryl Ryder.
For the second year in a row, Schobert and Higgins are the only two left from the 2016 draft. Please tell me again how good of an evaluator Sashi was. When Sashi never claimed to be an evaluator.
Unbelievable.
Like Sashi was sitting there watching film of fucking linebackers and going, oh yeah, I need Schobert on my team. No, he has a fucking team in place that's telling him, this dude's good, this dude's good. And then they're picking the appropriate players at the appropriate positions at the appropriate amounts of money.
And trading back for assets, and I can't get into this anymore.
No, I can't talk about it either. It's so fucking frustrating when this guy is like, Sashi couldn't pick players. Like, he's a bad evaluator. The same people that evaluated our 2018 draft were here in 2017 and 2016. Okay? It's the same fucking people. Sashi's not evaluating players. He gives zero fucks about evaluation. His job was to come up with a plan and execute the plan, and he did it. They used analytics to figure out what positions do we need to focus on. We need edge player? Okay, Myles Garrett. We need a quarterback? Well, we don't have a quarterback option this year that we like. Oh.
Well, he took a shot at edge player. So you missed with Agba, but you also had Nassib. Now you're telling me, and I really don't want to get into this much because we've gone over it a million times, but you're telling me that Nassib is not better than Chris Smith, Chad Thomas, or Zettel?
Even Agba.
Or even Agba, exactly. So he's a captain for Tampa Bay this year, Nassib is. But he wasn't good enough to beat out Chris Smith. You drafted Chad Thomas in the third round when you already had a guy who could do the same thing. So and I'm not hating on John Dorsey. He's done a good job too. What I'm saying is the GM is going to come in and take the players who he wants. He doesn't care who was drafted before. But you can't sit there and tell me every single player that was moved was worse than the guys that are here. That's just not the case. The reason why we're successful is because we have fucking Baker Mayfield that you can thank 0-16 to, okay? Baker Mayfield, and you can thank having Odell Beckham Jr. to all the goddamn assets that we had left over. A first-round pick, Jabril Peppers. I don't know, where did Kevin Zeitler come from? I mean, he must have just got signed out of thin air, for Christ's sakes.
Yes.
And who do we get for him? Who do we get for him?
Sashi Brown didn't know who the fuck Kevin Zeitler was. He didn't even know Kevin Zeitler was in the league until his team came to him. And I'm not giving Sashi any credit for picking players either, but he didn't pick players. He doesn't know. That wasn't his job. There was people that said, hey, Kevin Zeitler's a pretty good player in our division. Why don't we go scoop this guy up? He could be a good asset down the road. We can give him a guard contract. And Sashi said, okay, and then came up with a reasonable compensation for the dude. Kevin Zeitler played great enough to get us OBJ. There's no way Sashi even knew who he was.
Well, I mean, he does work in the NFL. I have to imagine he knows players on rosters, but yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Sure. He wasn't the same GM as what John Dorsey's literally picking his own players, where Sashi even said, we're doing this as a combined team here of evaluating players and coming to the conclusions that we do. Ultimately, he had the final choice, but it's not. It's a lot different than what you're getting with John Dorsey for sure.
John Dorsey's not sitting in a room by himself picking out players.
No,
he has before Andrew Berry got moved. He's got the same people evaluating players in his ear.
Sure.
He has the same analytics team there that we had before.
Yeah, the pro personnel scout's been here for 8 years. Yeah. I mean, it goes back to freaking Lombardi.
You take an old school football guy like John Dorsey and you don't give him an analytics team, you end up with Saquon Barkley 1 overall. But Dorsey took a quarterback and then he took a cornerback. That's
highly valued
not a
position.
Fucking surprise with this analytics team.
Yeah. So, anyways, we don't need to do that.
I know you're getting me triggered again.
Oh, it is what it is.
I mean,
All
Dorsey
right.
might be a better talent evaluator than a lot of GMs in the league, but it's not like he's in a room just going, I like this, watching 45,000 fucking college players playing and then goes, I need this kid from Southeast Missouri State. I mean, I know the dude works hard, but somebody else is going, hey, here's a scouting report on a guy that I think is pretty good, and Dorsey runs his name up there and probably doesn't even know who the fuck he is.
Oh, I don't think that's the case. I think they all talk. There's no way they draft a guy they don't know.
I know that, Greg.
No way. Okay, thank you.
I'm not saying.
Okay.
I'm trying to be like facetious a little bit.
Sorry, we're right over my head.
Completely
right over
literal.
my head. But definitely, it's not like the guys are coming in and he's like, all right, let's have our scouting meeting, and everybody goes through. They spend 5 hours, and Dorsey goes. They give him all the sheets, and he tears them all up. And says, fuck y'all. I'm going my own shit, bitches.
You get the fuck out of my office. I'm taking Mayfield, and the whole scouting team's going. Wait, we said take Darnold. Like
we said Josh
95% of the people. Yeah. So Mayfield wasn't like Dorsey's pick. Mayfield was a collaboration. Sashi and Dorsey is a collaboration, and everyone should just be happy that we're fucking here and we have a chance to win the division. We have a chance to win 10 or 11, like double-digit games. We have a chance to win the division. We have a chance to win playoff games. We have a chance to win a fucking Super Bowl. We had to go 0-16 to get Garrett and Mayfield, okay? So let's just start there.
We talk about it all the time. You have all suffered. We did it for this. We are here. The first game of the season starts next Sunday. It is finally here, folks. It's about to be real. You're about to see what a good team in Cleveland finally looks like. I'm excited. I don't know about you guys. I can't wait.
My hair's standing
ready.
up. I've got goosebumps.
Let's roll, baby.
What's our Twitter?
At STS Podcast. And our email is
survivingtheseason@gmail.com, patreon.com/STS Podcast if you want to financially support the show, and we appreciate the fuck out of it. We're going to have useful football coming up here. We'll have a pregame show for the Tennessee Titans. I can't believe it's here. Pre-game shows probably next. Then right into the post-game, we'll have 2 shows for you a week.
That's right.
Greg, tell them what we say.
Keep on surviving.